I wish you luck in realizing your ambition.
Hey everyone, it's BlueLizardJello and welcome back to Everything Possible in Elden Ring. Last time we did Limgrave Tunnels. That's kind of about it. There probably a few smaller things happened during that episode, but all in all, it was pretty much just that single entry. However, today I hope, I truly hope, we're going to actually accomplish quite a few things today. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Here are my stats. If you want to take a look at them for any longer, just pause the video. Although they're going to change here in just a moment. I have 14 dexterity, and I have been saving up some runes. I have not done any farming off camera whatsoever, but I should have enough to get exactly 4 levels. That is going to increase my dexterity all the way up to 18. That will allow me to use the flail, which we have already picked up at Gatefront Ruins, but also another weapon that we'll be getting here today in just a little bit. So there we are, level 18. Very nice. I'm not going to be changing my loadout right now, however, just so you can see what it is. I have the club with Determination, Ash of War. I have Lord Sorn's Magic Greatsword that has the Gravitas skill on it. I have my short bow. I don't have any of the fire bone arrows anymore, but I do have some bone arrows, regular. I also have the Vagabond Knight set. I have the Flame Drake Talisman on for now. And again, just the Flask of Crimson Tears. Over on my pouch, I have the Cerulean Tears, a Gold Pickled Foulfoot. We'll be using that today. And of course, I have the Lone Wolf Ashes, but I'm actually going to change those out. And I'm going to put on the Wandering Noble Ashes that we got earlier in the Stormfoot Catacombs, but we'll be just showing something kind of funny about them. Telescope and of course the proudly paid hello. Now let's head over to these ruins. Underneath we have an NPC that we're going to talk to, but before we do that, let's hop on the torrent. And we're actually going to make our way up on top of these ruins. It can take a few attempts here, just to get this right. Oh, almost had it. And there probably is an easier way of getting up here, but if there is, I don't know. But we're going up here just because up at the top on this corpse, we get a slumbering egg. So we wanted to pick that up. Now, let's hop down very carefully. Be on the lookout for any glowing skulls, especially now that it is nighttime. They're easier to find. Grab some Arawa fruit. Mushroom. And of course, we have this smoldering butterfly. And this is Yura.
You must be the new Tarnished. You do well to steer clear of Agheel Lake, fledgling. A dragon roosts there, and it's as fearsome as it is majestic. So, unless you're mad or wish to be burned alive, stay clear of the lake.
So Yura warns us about going too far into the lake because there is a dragon roosting there.
Don't be a fool. Turn back before it's too late.
And indeed there is, although if we go out there, we're not going to see it just yet. Now, Yura does have a fairly fascinating and long-running quest, so we're not going to do anything to him right now. However, if you really need to kill him, you do get 1,000 runes, and you get a really cool katana. You get the Nagakiba, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and I'm almost assuredly not, but it is an extremely long katana. You'll see it in PvP quite a bit. So what we're going to do is we are going to completely disregard his advice, and we are going to head over to the lake. I'm going to grab any plants along the way because there's plenty of Arawa fruit, some early flowers. There's a glowing skull, grab that golden rune, and then as you ride through this patch right here, just mash the collect button to get some Arawa fruit. There's also a tarnished golden sunflower, some more Arawa. We want lots and lots of these Arawa moving forward. Grab another golden rune. And then right here, this location, this is the Burnt Dragon Ruins. Okay, this is not the first ruins we've had. We did encounter the Gatefront Ruins, and I stated there before, there is always a cellar. I should have been more specific. There's always a cellar with loot. And if you find a cellar that doesn't have loot, or it has something else, that means there is yet another cellar for you to find. Kind of a hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge there. So what I'm going to do here is, first I want to get close and I want you to listen to what these enemies are saying.
Feral flame of Agheel. Burn Agheel. Oh, Agheel.
I actually really appreciate this little touch. Yeah, these dreglings here, these individuals are worshiping Agheel. That is the dragon for which this lake is named after, but also the dragon that's going to come down and attempt to destroy us. Here is the stake of Marika, so if we do die, we can respawn here. There's actually another one not too far away, just behind the ruins. But over here, actually here's the other stake of Marika that I was looking for. Directly next to this statue, right around here, there will be a summon sign for Yura. You can only actually summon him for the fight against Agheel the dragon once you have encountered Agheel. Now, I'm not going to spoil it because I'm not going to do it just yet, but if I get my telescope out, and you can see all of these individuals around this bonfire, most likely offering a burnt sacrifice or a feeding to the dragon. Once we approach that island is when we will meet the famed dragon, Agheel. But before we do that, we're going to actually clear out this entire ruins. There are some regular low-level enemies. There are some dogs in here, some wolfhounds it appears. There's also some noticeable loot, including some Trina's Lily. There's a summoning pool here you may want to activate. So we're just going to circle all the way around. Here is the first dog. Oh, glowing eyes. So we'll actually get some bonus runes from him once we take him down. Not too bad with the guard counter. There we go, 305 runes. That is 5 times more than what that hound would have gotten us otherwise. There's another hound just over there. Let's just circle nice and wide. Make sure we get everything. No surprises for us. Making our way towards the back here. Not a lot of loot on the outside. However, once we get inside is where we'll get the better. There's some crab eggs. That was a body that I just looted. And nice sneak attack to get that bonus damage on the hound. You can see that different color shiny right in there, guarded by a rat. That is going to be a stone sword key, which will be very, very useful. See if I can get a gravitas off. There we go. Excellent. And now we can go deal with the rat. As long as we're sneaking, we should be able to get up and get a charge R2, a charge heavy attack on the rat. There we have it. And here is our first stone sword key. Now the stone sword key, it is a starting gift that you can, or a keepsake that you can choose when you're creating your character. You start with 2 of them. Otherwise, this is the first or the earliest time that you'll get one. But this is going to be used to open imp seals, which we actually haven't seen yet. But most of the early ones will only take 1, so that will allow us access to the first one whenever we do find it. Grab this golden rune level 2. Backstab on this individual. There's the Trina's flowers that we were after. Drop some Rawa fruit. Most of the time they drop anything, it's just going to be some sort of crafting material. There's our 2 Trinas. And anytime there are these torchbearers, if you can sneak up on them, great. Otherwise, the gravitas is going to be an excellent choice for pulling them in and stunning them so they aren't able to actually get that torch hit off. But even if they do, especially with the Flame Drake Talisman, it's going to be fairly minimal. We have a dog over to our left, a couple of enemies here. Let's do a charge R2. Dog's going to see us. Let's just put our guard up so we can do a guard break. There we go. The overhead guard break counter with the greatsword is really effective. Okay, so this guy still doesn't see me. This is great. Just makes it a little bit more manageable. Now, as we enter into the main courtyard, it does get pretty busy, but really what we want to focus on is that dog, if at all possible. So let's just hop over this little half wall. Grab the mushroom here. Why not? We're using them. And it looks like the dog is already onto us, but if we can just take him out just like so, there we have it. And all we're really concerned about is the torch individual, just because he's the one who can do some damage. There's some Raw fruit. And now we're just going to mop up with the rest of the enemies here. I'm going to top off just because we should get the flask recharge as soon as we get all of them down. Not just yet. Smoldering butterflies in a couple of places. There we have it. Now, where did I leave someone alive? Oh, I'm standing right next to him. There we have it. And there is the flask recharge. Excellent. Grab this mushroom that I failed to get last time. So down here in this cellar, let's go ahead and take care of some rats here. Should be able to sneak up and get one kill before the others discover me. Okay. Good. That's fine, I'll take that. And what did we get from a drop? We got a golden rune level 1. You can actually get rune arcs off of the rats, which is really cool. However, we haven't discussed rune arcs, but just understand that that is something you can farm from them. Not that this is the best location to do so. This chest right here, I am going to open it, not right now. Instead, we're going to come back to that in just a moment because if you've played this before, you know exactly what happens when you open that chest. It is a trap chest. It's going to ensnare us and it's going to bring us to a new location. That location is extraordinarily dangerous. But what I do want to accomplish before we do that is take a look inside this little building right here, which has no noticeable access unless we have a way of jumping over the wall, which we do thanks to the double jump with Torrent. And inside here, we hop down, go down into the cellar. Open this chest, which is not trapped. And we get the Twinblade, a returning fan favorite from Dark Souls 2. The Twinblade is nothing short of just a lot of fun. In fact, in the most recent patch, which is 1.08, these actually got a buff and they now attack faster, or I think the combo actually begins faster. It is a really, really fun weapon. It does require 18 dexterity, hence why I leveled up at the beginning. It is capable of both standard and pierce damage. Anytime you see two different types of damage, standard slash pierce, pierce slash strike, actually I don't think there's an example of a pierce slash strike, I could be wrong, it means that depending on the particular move, it will do one or the other. The Twinblade has a couple of opportunities to do pierce. My favorite, one that we're going to be utilizing here, is jumping R2. Jumping R2 will slam the Twinblade into the ground, dealing pierce damage. And one of the very large enemies that we'll be taking on is weak to pierce. So I'm going to be using that to deal some extra damage. Really, really fun moveset. You can block with it once it's two-handed like this. So it does have the ability to guard counter. There is your R2. And the special skill is spinning weapon. Spinning weapon you can use twice in succession for an extra move, and you can see the cost up there for the spinning slash. It's going to be 6 for the initial and an extra 6, so a total of 12 FP if you want to do that full combo. So we're going to be playing around with this here for just a little while. We're going to have to get on Torrent yet again to hop out of here. And now, despite what I should do, I'm going to get trapped by this chest. And many of you are going to wonder, Blue, if this is made for people who have never played or beginners to the game, why would you send them here? Well, number one, I think that this is a very natural thing for players to get caught by. I know I got caught by it in my first playthrough, but also there's actually a couple of good reasons for going to this next location as long as you know how to get out safely. Welcome to the Celia Crystal Tunnel, an area that we should not be in, and we need to get out as fast as we can. However, two things are now preventing us from just leaving via fast travel. Number one, if I go and try and just go to any site of grace, it'll tell me you've been trapped, cannot travel to sites of grace until you rest at one. I need to find a site of grace and rest at it before I'm able to fast travel. But I'm also in a cavern. And because I'm in a cavern, I can't exit the cavern, or I can't fast travel from the cavern until the area boss is defeated. So I now need to either find the boss and kill it, which frankly is not happening right now, or I need to make my way out of the cave after I've rested at a site of grace, which is what we're going to do here. I do not recommend that you attack anything in this cave. Everything in this cave right now is capable of killing us extremely quickly. The only two enemies that we would encounter right now are glintstone miners, which we can hear outside digging, and the lesser kindred of rot, which is this enemy kind of creepily poking right through the roof here, also known as pests. These are the real dangers. Most of the miners, in fact all but one who is patrolling around, he's probably already passed us, they are busy hard at work. In fact, if I take a look outside, Those miners who are actually mining cracked crystals will completely ignore us if we leave them alone, if we don't interrupt their work, if we don't attack them and we don't harvest their materials. They will just continue to do what they're doing. You can get some interesting drops out of them. The glintstone miners can drop glintstone scrap and large glintstone scrap, like we used to kill the stone digger troll. They can also drop the digger staff, which is a sorcerer staff that can obviously cast sorceries, but also it gives you a boost to stone digger sorceries, which we won't have for some time. But in our current state, really and truly, it is not worth it. Now the pests, the lesser kindred of rot, they can drop a really, really cool glaive, the pest glaive. Again, it's not going to be worth it though. They're very dangerous at our level. They are, the pest that is, weak to bleed, fire, and frost, so if you have something like that, it may be possible for you to kill them, but we should just get out of here. First, let's loot this chest. We're going to get 3 gravity stone chunks and 6 gravity stone fans. I actually want to take a look at the descriptions of these. Shard of rock found in the wake of a meteorite strike. The desperate ones who scavenge for these shards dubbed themselves Starcallers. Just a little bit of lore, just kind of an inkling of what we can expect to find later on in Elden Ring in terms of the cosmos and those who worship different entities and deities, but also even elements and rocks, such as the gravity stones. Pretty interesting. So what are these actually good for? Well, similarly to the glintstone scraps, they require FP to cast. Your gravity stone chunks that we just got 3 of, it costs 5 FP, and it's fairly good for single targets. It can hit groups if they're very tightly together, but it essentially causes an eruption, a gravity shockwave, to be shot straight up and dealing pretty significant damage. Whereas the stone fans, that will actually go out in a fan-like direction, and it's really good for enemies as they're approaching you, especially if you have several all lined up for you. And the fans will take 13 FP, so a little bit more costly than your stone chunks. So as I said, the miners, they will leave us alone if we don't hurt them, and if we don't actually harvest that which they are mining. Here is the patrolling miner, so I'm going to let him go on by. But they are mining cracked crystals. Cracked crystals can be used to create crystal darts, cuckoo glintstones, and shatter shard arrows, none of which we can even create right now because we don't have the recipes for it. So what I'm going to do here while he is going by is I'm going to get out my heater shield. I do want my bow and I want some arrows, or at least 1 arrow. And I am going to just start sneaking. You can see that the pest right there is not paying attention to us. These guys, we can walk right on by. But if I try and acquire those materials, they are going to aggro on me. But as I get down here, this is where it gets dangerous. That lesser kindred of rot, if I sprint to the exit, which is going to be over there to the left, he's going to see me, and he's going to be firing at me very, very quickly. So instead, I want to get out my bow, and I'm going to manually aim an arrow, hopefully right behind him at one of these barrels. And as soon as he sees it, I'm going to try and target him. Easier said than done. And I'm going to back up with my shield up. Now notice he is distracted by where I shot my arrow. So let's actually take a moment just to talk about what we see. We do have, right in the middle of the screen, those glowing stones. We saw these in Limgrave tunnels. Those are smithing stones. Those are level 5 smithing stones. So you might think, I might as well grab those. You're probably going to die. You could also go into that building right there, and there is a shiny in the corner over to the left. That is a golden rune level 5. You are probably going to die. Don't say I didn't warn you. So as long as we distract him and we get far enough away, he no longer sees us. Might as well activate the summoning stone, why not? And we are actually essentially out of the Celia tunnels. We can drop down here. We have a Site of Grace, which is perfect. Let's rest up because the note on the map says that we cannot leave until we've rested. Over here, just because it's a free shiny, we can get our very first rot grease. So rot grease is going to be a coating that we put on our melee weapons, and then any attack with that weapon will inflict buildup of scarlet rot. If we can get scarlet rot to proc on an enemy, it deals extremely high damage over time. Very, very useful. Now, if I try to fast travel just so you can see it, it's going to tell me I cannot travel to a Site of Grace, and that's because I'm in a cave. However, here is the exit. And at this point, we are free to leave. I recommend that you do so. I do recommend that you leave. There are some very giant land squirts here. There are some other enemies that we do not want to contend with. There is an invisible scarab. You can see the footprints glowing right over there in the swamp. You can go down and kill that fairly easily and get the poison armament incantation. If you want to, go right ahead. Number one, we can't even cast incantations just yet. But also, poison, while it does have its uses, not really something we're going to need to be playing around with right now. If you do get it, it is an incantation. It costs 10 faith to cast, and as I said, it coats your weapon with poison. We have some faded earthly flowers dotted around. There is another site of grace not too far. If you go there, and if you want to do this, by all means, if we go to the next site of grace in this location and we rest, Melina will take us to the hub to Round Table Hold. I don't want to do that just yet. So we're not going to do that, but if you'd like to, you can travel. You can actually see it just through the mist right there. Be wary, there are some perched enemies around, but if you just ride on Torrent all the way there and rest, you'll go to Round Table Hold, and there'll be a host of new NPCs for you. But for us, it is time to go back to Seaside Ruins. And now it's time to go mess with the dragon. And we're gonna do exactly that. So I'm just going to, you know what, I'm actually gonna ride through these arches just because I can get more rawa fruit, but I can also get the smoldering butterfly. I can get this mushroom, actually a couple of mushrooms, and then I'm just going to pick everything along the way, even another golden rune, perfect. And what I'm doing is I'm heading past the bird dragon ruins, just collecting everything along the way. Rawa fruit is going to be in demand later. We don't have to deal with any of these individuals, but what we're going to do is we are going to approach the Agheel worshippers over on that island once we get around these pesky little trees. I'm actually going to get off Torrent and watch this happen. We have it, Flying Dragon Agheel. If we turn around right now and we run, we will not get your summon sign. So if you do want to bring him along with you, I don't necessarily recommend it. However, we want to land a hit. So there we go. And now I'm going to get on Torrent and we're going to leave. So this is the first boss that we're encountering. Well, the first boss that we're actually going to fight that we can use Torrent for. The Tree Sentinel at the very beginning we could have used Torrent for. We're not ready for the Tree Sentinel yet, so instead, all I'm doing is I just gave him a little boop on the nose, and I'm heading back all the way to Yura, and he will de-aggro here in just a moment. Right? He's not going to follow me all the way here. There we go. But now that he is leaving us alone, we can go talk to Yura.
You bloody half-wit. Picking a fight with a dragon. Well, I can tell you want to see it through. Seems I'm forever crossing paths with hotheads like you.
Once we get that dialogue, his summon sign is going to appear by that one stake of Marika. It is completely up to you whether or not you want to bring him along for this fight, but I'm going to show you the method that I use that actually only involves Torrent very minimally, and it's going to make pretty short work of it. But I'm only realizing now I've made a mistake. And that mistake is, Agheel is weak to pierce. Agheel is not really weak to anything else, but he does have some pretty good magic resistance. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get rid of my bow and my heater shield. I'm going to use the Twinblade, and I'm going to switch to the Lord Sorn's magic greatsword, but I don't want it to be magic. So I'm actually going to go back to my Ash of War. I'm going to leave on Gravitas, but I'm going to switch it back to standard, so I'm doing purely physical damage. The goal is going to be to two-hand the Twinblade. Every time that Agheel puts his head down, which is pretty frequent, I'm going to do a jump and an R2. If I do that correctly, I should hit about 195 damage. Once I've hit him enough times in succession, I'll break his stance, and then he'll actually fall down for a critical. Then I will switch over to the Lord Sorn's greatsword, probably get a hit or two, and then I'll get him in the eye for the critical, dealing massive, massive damage. So there is Flying Dragon Agheel. Here's the Stake of Marika. If we hop off and just hide behind here, there is the summon sign appearing. And it is Yura, the Hunter of Bloody Fingers. You can bring him, and he does okay, but he does make the fight more challenging. So instead, we're going to fight him solo. Although, I do have my Wandering Nobles, and I want to show off how well they do in this fight. Remember when we picked them up, I said that they tend to run with bigger targets. Well, let's see how they fare against Flying Dragon Agheel. Oh, Mr. Agheel. Oh, and I didn't mean for them to get hit like that. But you can see they don't do so well. They actually run away and they cower. So to make sure that they're not getting them away, I'm actually going to just send them back to beyond. And here is what I'm going to do. I want to bait attacks like this. See how his head was now down? Just like that. That is the perfect opportunity for me to do a jumping R2. If he does this big wing slash, oh, and I am heavy. I'm going to take off my gloves really quickly. And I might die here because I'm not paying attention. All right, luckily I didn't die. So that move, when he flies up into the air, then you need to determine whether or not he flew straight back or if he has flown kind of up and to the left. If he flies up and to the left, that means he's going to do that fire breathing down into the side. And we want to hop on Torrent and ride to the opposite side. So here we go, perfect example. So you see where he's blowing fire? We just hop on Torrent, ride off. I'm going to ride back up to him. And now we're actually going to try and get some damage in here. So wait till he lowers his head. We missed. He's going to do a foot slam. I'm just walking casually. Notice I'm not locking on. I find that locking on in this fight makes it immensely more difficult. So this time he's flying just straight up and back. I'm just going to sprint towards my camera and respond with a couple of jumping attacks of my own. Here is the foot slam. Okay, we probably almost have him knocked down. Alright, he's flying away. I want to get on Torrent and ride straight at him because he's probably going to do some fire breath. Yes, he is. But great opportunity to get some bonus damage in. Foot slam. Locking on against an enemy of this size can really, really present more trouble than the enemy is actually worth. Here's one of his other moves where he just jumps up and then blows fire straight down. You want to run away. Getting on Torrent's not a bad idea, but he's also then going to fly away. So make sure that you get on Torrent and you try and close that distance as much as possible. There's a foot slam. Now I also have my gold pickled Foulfoot on my pouch, and as soon as I'm about to get the last hit, I do want to use that for the extra 30% runes. And that's because he is going to give us 5,000 runes on death. Along with the gold pickled Foulfoot, that's going to be an additional 1,500 runes. Okay, let's ride straight at him. Well, not straight at him because, you know, fire hurts. Hop off. Here's a good foot slam. There's an attack. Let's see if we can get another one. We may bring him down. That's perfect. And I missed. Less perfect. Okay, he's going straight up and back, so we're just going to run straight at the camera. Makes for some good cinematic anyway. Here's a good hit. Boy, he does not want to fall down today. There we go. Switch over to the straight sword. I'm just going to do a 1 R2 and then get the kill, and I'm going to use the gold pickled Foulfoot as soon as I can. And that's Flying Dragon Agheel. 6,500 runes. Normally, that would have been 5,000, and we got a Dragon Heart. We saw the Dragon Heart as something that we could use at the Church of Dragon Communion on the island just beyond the coast. where we encountered Bach and the demi-humans. We can use this to purchase one of those incantations, and now I need to apologize. I said that the dragon incantations were meh or mid. I don't even know what word I used, but I got a lot of comments telling me that au contraire, Blue, they're actually phenomenal. And I had to look into it because admittedly my experience with them was rather minimal. Turns out they're very good. Turns out they are very good indeed. They're so good, in fact, they've had to be nerfed before, and yet they're still absolutely tearing apart enemies. So, my apologies. Now, we also did just unlock a new incantation, but not at the Church of Dragon Communion, but at the Cathedral of Dragon Communion, which we haven't seen just yet. So we'll talk more about that when we get to the Cathedral. But that's the Flying Dragon Agheel fight, and maybe I just made it look easy. Some people in the comments, please do, are going to tell you that riding on Torrent and just getting a slash or two while you ride past his foot is going to be your best bet, and that does work. But I found this to be a rather repeatable exercise, a repeatable fight. I'm able to knock him down consistently. Typically, I can actually get him knocked down twice, but I'm not upgrading my weapons at all just yet. I have only the base stats to wield these weapons, and you saw just how much damage we were able to do by exploiting his weakness. So now, we are going to finish by just clearing the rest of the lake. Now, we do have 3 minutes on this Gold Pickle Foulfoot. We do have some land squirts here that I do want to kill. I'm going to grab these Golden Rune level 1s. I have mentioned it before, but just again, it bears repeating. You do not get the 30% bonus when you are actually using consumable runes. We have a lot of land squirts here. What I'm going to do is I'd like to get in nice and close and do a charge R2 to knock down as many of them as I can. We'll go ahead and get the kill and then just get out of there because that's a whole lot of poison building up. We can do something fun here if you want to. You can absolutely just use your new gravity stone fans. Really, really good damage. You can see just how much that spreads out. Makes quick work of these enemies. And I'm getting the bonus rune still, which is nice. Let this poison dissipate as much as possible. Okay, there we have it. They are dead. Got a strip of white flesh, but they were guarding an arteria leaf. We've talked about that before, but it is something that is not too terribly common. I'm going to hop on Torrent now. Ultimately, we want to head under that archway. That is the bridge that we got the one single smithing stone level 1 on. There's the Caden Warrior, and the Ash of War Determination was up there. On this one island, though, there's a single Trina's Lily. There are some other items here. There are these crabs here that we could fight, but what I want to do is just go down here so you can see that's the archway with Yura. We could go talk to him, but we're going to see him here in a little bit. What I want to do is go to this scarab that is coming up right here. I'm actually going to top off. Not what I meant to do. Well, let's take care of that dragonfly, aka Dobson Fly. Let's just head right to that scarab and get the kill quickly. I said quickly. Watch the crabs here. Okay, there's the kill. We get the Ash of War unsheathed, and now I want to let these behemoths kind of fight each other. However, once again, when you're doing live commentary, these are the things that can happen. But anyway, as we ride back to the runes, let's talk about the Ash of War Unsheathed. That Ash of War, that skill, is only to be used by katanas. Now, some katanas do start with the Unsheath ability, like the Uchi Katana, which can be the starting weapon of the Samurai class. Otherwise, if you don't have it, you can then put it on with this Ash of War. There is an item over there. We're not going to get that just yet. But it also offers the Keen affinity, which is going to increase the dexterity scaling. So at this point, I'm actually not too concerned about these crabs. You can make them hit each other. Let's just go ahead and grab these crab eggs over here. Oh, you know what? We have to do it. I at least have to show off how they can hurt each other. Come on now. A little bit of damage there, not much. Come on now. Oh, the spit is the worst possible one you could do. Well, that was a little better. Now they're doing some damage. There we go. Good damage. Alright, there's the kill. Finish him off. There we go. Excellent. See, that's the pro gameplay that I was aiming for. So now, we've actually collected all of the notable items here in the lake, so we're going to be heading back up to this channel here, underneath this archway. We actually do have another cave we're going to be taking on before we wrap today up. In fact, we're going to go to a brand new area before we wrap up. But before we do that, heading over to this bridge, you can see some, they almost look like marionettes strung up. Those are going to be more skeletons. Those are more undead, like we found on the coast, which means we have to kill them essentially twice, unless we have holy damage. And I did receive a correction in the comments. It is not enough to simply have holy damage on your weapon. It actually needs to specifically be used to kill the undead. There is an Ash of War that will coat your weapon in holy damage made to kill the undead. Certain other weapons will say that they are for the undead or those who live in death. But just because you may have holy damage does not mean that they will die immediately. Although, we haven't actually crafted any, or we don't have any crafted on me. I'm going to make some holy pots. And I'm going to be honest, right now you are seeing a live test. I'm not sure if these will actually kill them in a single go. What I do want, though, however, I'm actually going to take off the Twinblade for now. I'm going to put on the heater shield, and I'm going to put on the short bow. Because with the short bow, instead of just waiting for them to ambush, I can just make them fall whenever I want them. Let's see if I can group them together a little bit. And sure enough, it does kill them instantly. Great. So there we go. We got a human bone shard. I'm going to talk more about them at a later time just because this is not the place that really we want to be farming them. Grab ourselves a mushroom, some fire grease. Similar to the rock grease, this is going to coat our weapon in a buff for 60 seconds. This is going to add 85 fire damage. And once again, let's see if we can't get these enemies to group together. Actually, those guys should be close enough. Sure enough. Perfect. Now let's do a guard counter on you. Well, I can't really because I had to two-hand. Wait for the single death. There's actually a skeleton over there that has some glowing eyes, which is perfect. I'm actually going to switch this out. I'm going to put on the flail for this. Strike damage is good against skeletons anyway. Let's get their attention. Perfect. Now just run back. We don't want the individual with the crossbow to join in this fight. Okay, thank you, Dragonfly. Make sure we unlock and we get the kills here. I don't know where the Dragonfly went. I'm not too concerned. That's right up here. Well, I was hoping that I could show off once again that even with the projectile, if you block it, you can get the guard counter. And it looks like the Dragonfly has left me alone. I'm going to top off, and I'm going to hop on Torrent to try and get to that next destination, but watch what's about to happen. The cave is just beyond these trees up here on the left. I did not choose to dismount, and if I try and go into the cave, a fog wall appears, and that is because we are being invaded by Bloody Finger Nerijus. Nerijus is nasty. Nerijus uses 2 Reduvia daggers, and the Reduvia, fortunately, is going to be the reward for actually killing him. However, it deals immense blood buildup, and he can use them to very, very good effect. So I'm going to kind of keep my distance right now and see if I can't get him to use the skill, the actual Reduvia's blade. Okay, there is that blood buildup. It is deadly. Fortunately, we're about to have some assistance. There is the blade. Perfect.
If it isn't Nerijus, the end is nigh. For you. And your blood.
So now, at this point, I need Yura's help. And here he is. So now we should be able to do some really good work against Nerijus, especially if we can get behind him. Because while Yura keeps him occupied, spinning weapon, which is really fun, can do just a ton of blood buildup against him. He does have the ability to heal a single time, but he didn't even get the heal off thanks to Yura. And we do get the Reduvia weapon. When I first played this game, I had not yet updated online to the newest hotfix. And specifically, it was the fact that it was offline that made all the difference. Because when I first got the Reduvia, it did not have, of course it's a dagger so it's up at the top, the requirement of 13 arcane. Without that, I was able to use that because I didn't have any arcane at the time. And this is a massively damaging weapon. The Reduvia Bloodblade, that causes the blood buildup from afar. It costs 6 FP per cast. It also has innate blood loss buildup. You can see there in the bottom left, it deals 30 because of my low arcane, but that'll increase as you increase that. It's very fast. It's very efficient. If you can spare the arcane, I highly recommend having this in your back pocket anytime you're being pressured by an enemy or a PvP invader or a host, because the blood buildup is just so fantastic. It does have 110 critical, kind of low for the dagger class, but still a really useful weapon. The Noble Servants of the Lord of Blood. We're going to see that name come up again and again. Right, before we actually go into the cave that we were aiming for, because we just got his assistance, let's ride forward just a little bit and learn a little bit about our hero, Yura, who is waiting for us just under these rocks.
Ah, we meet again. To have fought Nerijus and lived. You must have seen your share of battle. I am Yura, as you might recall. Hunter of bloody fingers, tarnished, held in thrall by cessblood. Zealots, who stalk their own. You stay the path. You're certain to face more of them. Just remember, no kinship with their ilk remains. Their madness precludes it. Don't let your emotions stay your blade.
Some wise words from Yura. We will be encountering him sometime later once we get to Raya Lucaria. Thank you for the help. Now, we're going to head back to the cave. I didn't need to heal because we have a Site of Grace coming up here in just a moment. But inside the cave, very few weak enemies, and then a rather interesting boss encounter. I'm going to say no more about that until we get there. Inside, this is the Murkwater Caves. We get a Site of Grace nice and early. It is a little bit dark, but it does lighten up here in just a moment. Let's rest up. We don't have any need to change. I am going to put on the Twinblade and just use that a little bit because it's fun. Grab some cave moss. There is a summoning pool here that you can activate. And one feature that you don't see too often, once we actually get closer and we start sneaking up, pay attention to the ground because there are a number of these alarms. These alarms, once we trigger them, it's going to ring the bells, and then all of the highwaymen in these caves are going to come a-running. Not necessarily a big problem because they are pretty weak, but let's just instead charge out, get some rather quick kills here, do a guard counter on this one. There's the knockdown. The boss encounter is over there in that small cave, but let's just finish up with a few more of them. I do still have my bow, so I can do some pulls if I need to. Of course, I don't have to because they're right on me. Get the critical there, which is good for keeping the other enemy off of you for just a moment. There we go, good kill. And what do we get? We got some bolts. You can also get their armor, which is nothing too amazing. Some more cave moss. We have 3 more down here. Let's just rush in. Get some nice quick kills. There we have it. We got some more bolts. Inside this chest, we have 5 mushrooms, which, hey, not too bad because we are using quite a few mushrooms with our pots. And that's it. That's the entire cave minus the boss encounter. So let's head in here, grab some more cave moss, head through the golden fog, and prepare to fight nothing. There's nothing in here. There's no boss waiting for us. Instead, all we have is a chest, and it's not even a trap chest. It's not going to take us anywhere. So instead, we're just free to open it and free to loot.
Well. Thought you'd just help yourself to a man's personal belongings, huh? You scheming little thief. The gods demand repentance. Cough up your coin. All of it.
You may be listening to that voice and thinking, by golly, that sounds familiar. And you know what? It should. That voice actor is none other than William Vanderpoy. That's right, the William Vanderpoy who voices Professor Natquick in Octonauts Above and Beyond. So, good ear on you for actually realizing that is him. But of course, this is none other than Patches, the absolutely wonderful character that you love to hate, and he is the boss of the Murkwater Cave. He actually can be slightly difficult. You can break his poise. It does seem like he has quite a bit. But you can also, when he's doing that perfume spray, which by the way lowers your attack power, you can get around for a fairly easy backstab. One of the most dangerous things that he can do though is if you keep your shield raised, he will actually kick it and essentially break your guard, especially if you have a smaller or medium shield. The great shield, you can deal a little bit more, or withstand a little bit more. There's that. I'm not going to be able to get the backstab, but let's just do some more damage. Fun little fact, though, about Patches. He's a bit of a coward. Notice how he's almost at 50%?
Wait, please. I surrender. White flag and all. Well, finally come round, have you? I knew you would. You're a lady of reason, through and through.
If you decide to let him live, which I recommend that you do, because he does have a quest and he's a rather important vendor, although from a vendor standpoint it doesn't matter because you can get everything he has from a vendor at Round Table Hold, but by letting him live you get 2 Golden Rune level 1s. Fantastic. You also get the Grovel for Mercy gesture. This is the only chance you have of getting it. If you do kill him, you will not get this. If you do kill him, however, the fight doesn't change. It is the same fight that you just had, so fairly straightforward moves and straightforward attacks. You can get some really good loot, especially if you want an upgraded weapon right away. If you kill him, you get the Golden Rune level 1s times 2 again. You also get his bell bearing. That is the item when given to the merchant in Round Table Hold, which will allow you full access to his inventory. You also get a spear upgraded to +7, and you get the leather armor set minus the helm.
Ah, well, what do you know? You're tarnished like me. Now, how did I get that wrong? I took you for a demi-human or some such. Well, an innocent mistake, I assure you. Well, water under the bridge. Now we're squared up. How about we play nice from now on?
You can choose to forgive him or not. It makes no difference. It just changes the dialogue that's coming up right afterwards.
A true lady of reason. Just what I like about you. I'm Patches. Patches the Untethered. Tarnished like you, only free-spirited. Nomadic, you might say. Only for now, those retired soldiers turned bandits. They're paying for my gruel. In exchange for my, well, showing them the ropes. But honestly, this looting racket is bloody terrifying. Frankly, I'm ready to wash my hands clean. Maybe set up a legitimate shop. So don't be a stranger. I'll be ready to wheel and deal come next time.
And he's not kidding. The next time we see him, he'll be ready to sell us some really valuable items. In fact, at this point, I have no interest in fighting the highwaymen, so we'll just run down somewhat blindly. And immediately turn the corner. Even if they become aggro, they will leave me alone once I get a bit further into the cave. And we see another chest.
Well, nice of you to drop in finally. It's all a bit ad hoc, but I'm sure you'll find something. And welcome to Patch's Emporium, where you won't need a refund, because everything's top notch. Yeah, I had those bandits make a clean break. Now they're all suppliers, and good ones at that. I mean, they don't understand a word I'm saying, but it hardly matters. We have a natural connection. They're all foot soldiers, survivors of a defeated army, worked to the bone by their high and mighty lord, only to be thrown out with the rubbish. It's the same old story everywhere I go. To hell with it all. Wondering what's inside the treasure chest. Well, it's nothing too special. Just something I'm saving as thanks for a very valuable customer. But then again, it would fetch some spectacular coin. And besides, this valuable customer could be a long time coming. Huh? Everything is give and take. Give and take.
He does make that chest sound quite enticing. We'll have to go take a look. But first, let's take a look at his inventory. He sells 3 gold pickled foulfoot. He also sells fan daggers, an interesting item, even though they are rather terrible. It throws 5 daggers out in a fan fashion in front of you. I guess it can be good in PvP if an enemy is really low on health, but they do very little damage, but it's, I guess, good for enemies that are running away. What is kind of cool is that this is a concealed weapon cherished by the Raptor Assassins. We're going to learn more about these Raptor Assassins from Ravenmount later on, so we're going to have to keep our eyes out for more Bird of Prey style items. We also have Margit's Shackle. Margit's Shackle costs 5,000 runes, but for good reason. Shackles were used to bind the accursed people called the Omen, and these ones were made to keep a particular Omen under strictest confinement. Though faint, the shackles still retain vestiges of power, enough to trap the once bound Margit on Earth, if only for a short time. There is a boss that we're going to encounter, actually we'll encounter more than once, and if we use Margit during the first phase of the boss encounter, we can bring the boss to his knees twice. We can do this and get a lot of free damage. So we do want to pick this up. We're not going to grab it just yet. We'll get that a little bit later on. The one thing that's really interesting about this, whether it was intended or not, when you use the shackle, it can also activate anything that normally involves you attacking it, like the fire pillars that we've seen in the catacombs or an illusory wall that normally you'd have to strike. And it can do so from a really good distance away. So not a bad item to have in your hotbar when you're exploring catacombs. Grace Mimics, he sells 15 of these. I don't know anyone who uses them or has used them to great effect. They're supposed to mimic a site of grace. I thought in my initial playthrough that maybe they would lead you to some sort of secret. No, they just mimic a site of grace. Again, maybe for PvP. Glass shards, absolutely worthless. He sells unlimited of these, thank you for that. 3 Furl Calling Finger Remedies, which are needed to see online summon signs, both co-op and PvP. Festering Bloody Fingers, he sells 5 of these, used to invade someone else's world or attempt to. He sells a Stone Sword Key for 5,000 runes. This is a ripoff. There are other merchants that sell these for cheaper, and you will find plenty of them in the world at large. I don't recommend buying one of these. However, Missionary's Cookbook number 2, Scriptstone, Grace Mimic, and the Gold Pickled Foulfoot. The only one we haven't seen so far are Scriptstones. Scriptstones are items that when used will cause more messages to appear from other players. We definitely want to purchase the Missionary's Cookbook. He also sells the Parrying Dagger. Parrying Dagger deals 110 critical damage. The damage is somewhat low, but where this weapon shines is its ability to parry, and it does have some pretty high parry frames. He also sells 10 great arrows for great bows, 5 ballista bolts for the hand ballista. We'll be getting that actually in not too long. The Horse Crest Wooden Shield. This shield doesn't have the best physical damage negation. It's only 87, and the guard boost is only 47, which is rather low. But for a medium shield, it's actually rather lightweight, so this will cause more enemy attacks to rebound off of you, as opposed to my heater shield, which is only small. And then we have the Sacrificial Twig, believed to be a twig pruned from the Earth Tree long, long ago. This is a talisman, and this would go in our talisman slot. If you buy one of these, or if you find one, which you will, I don't recommend that you simply put it on to prevent the rune loss, which is what the description says. Instead, if you die and your runes are somewhere for you to retrieve them, then you put on the sacrificial twig, because it kind of gives you a free chance. If you die on the way to your runes and you don't have a sacrificial twig, your runes are gone. If you die on the way to your runes and you have a sacrificial twig in your talisman slot, you will lose the sacrificial twig, but you have another chance to get to your runes without actually dying. So definitely worth having on your hotbar. But for now, the Missionary's Cookbook is enough for us.
Cheers for that.
And now, I really want this treasure.
Well, well, well. I should have known, you scheming little thief. The gods demand vengeance. Vengeance!
And while it says welcome to Limgrave, we're not quite in the Limgrave that we know and love. We are far removed. We are far to the east from the Murkwater Cave. We are in Mistwood, and that, my friends, is a rune bear. We are not equipped to kill the rune bear. We may not ever be equipped to fight a rune bear. But what I do want to do is go over here to this monument, and I'm going to do that by putting a map marker, just by using my interact skill on here. This will allow me to see it on my compass even when I'm not in the map, and once I get up to where I put the map marker, it will just automatically fade, which is nice. But going to this monument will get me the map fragment for Eastern Limgrave, and then we're just going to head north to a church where we can then rest at a site of grace and fast travel out. Before we do that, however, this pond over here that has yet more rune bears. We have one here patrolling, we have one sleeping. There are some shinies in there, but I don't really care about the shinies so much as I care about the insects that are inside the pond. What I need to do though is be very careful that we don't get the attention of that rune bear. Because what I want to get, and I'll just kind of crouch sprint away, I want to get these golden fireflies that are dotted around this pond. As long as we go quietly, we can pick them up. I have heard reports that there are 10. I have collected 9 myself. Here's a monument indicating that we can summon our companions here. I could summon my wandering noble spirits if I wished. If I do get into trouble, if I do aggro any of these rune bears, I am simply going to get on Torrent and I'm going to get out. Okay, almost done here. There we have it. Perfect. There is some gold-tinged excrement around. I have no need for that. So instead, let's just start crouching our way out of here and heading towards that marker that I put on. And I'll show you why I collected those here in a moment. But first, I am curious, how many did I manage to collect? I got 8. So I missed at least 1. There may be another 2, but 8 is going to be plenty for us for now. There is that item right there. Don't go and get it. Just wait. We'll be back. We'll be back for it, I promise. But that rune bear will attack you if you go after it. But the Limgrave East map fragment is safe to collect, and now we can see exactly where we are at. And this right here is a minor Erd tree. In fact, if we read the description of those gold fireflies we just collected, it tells us that they are found near bodies of water close to minor Erd trees. Anytime you find a pond and it's near one of those trees, then you should go and check it out because you might be able to collect some gold fireflies. And now all we're going to do is we're going to stick to the road. Might grab a few things that I see dotted around. Might as well. I'm not going to be fighting any enemies here though. Ignore this for now. We'll be back at a later time to investigate that. Just past some Rower fruit. But we're going to ride this up to the third church of Marika, where there's a site of grace, another very, very useful item that we'll be collecting. And then we're going to head back and we're going to talk to Patches one more time because, well, I feel like he owes us an explanation for what happened with that chest. There is the church. There is that lovely site of grace. But before we leave, we have 2 things to pick up. The first is over here under the statue of Marika, and we get our very first sacred tear. Blessing of the Erd Tree, worshipped in the churches of all lands, this is but a faint vestige. Increases the potency of a sacred flask's restorative effects. During the age of the Erd Tree, these tears were used to spread the faith, for theirs was once a certain blessing. This is going to increase the potency of our Flask of Crimson and Flask of Cerulean Tears. It will restore more HP and FP respectively. But also over here, the color of this icon indicates it is something special, and we get the Crimson Crystal Tear and the Flask of Wondrous Physic. The Flask of Wondrous Physic is going to allow us to combine these tears as we collect them for different effects. The one that we just got is a very simple healing effect. One of these Crimson Tears is going to heal up to 50% of our maximum hit points in a single use. And it's good that it's in a single use because it is only a one-time use in between resting at a site of grace. So if I put this over here in my pouch, I'm just going to replace, well, the nobles for now. You can see it is only a single use. We will not increase this. But if I try and use it right now, it won't do me any good because there's nothing in it. So it does absolutely nothing. But if I go and I rest at a site of grace, I have a new option available, and that is Mix the Wondrous Physic. I have 2 slots here. I only have the single tier, so for now, I'm just going to put on the 1 Crimson, but you can mix and match. And some do have combined effects when you mix them together, but we need to find more tiers in order to unlock those effects. So for now, we just have the healing. Nice little addition a few patches ago is these little dots will appear next to menu items that you want to pay attention to. For example, flasks. If I go in here, because I have a sacred tier, I can increase the amount replenished by flasks. Go ahead and use that sacred tier, but also, if I want to talk to Melina, I missed many of these before they added this dot, and I appreciate it.
Spoken echoes linger here. Words of Queen Marika, who vanished long ago. If you wish, I will share them with you.
If you don't want to hear them, you can actually say no, and talking to Melina will just have her repeat them again anyway.
Very well. In Marika's own words, my lord, and thy warriors, I divest each of thee of thy grace. With thine eyes dimmed, ye will be driven from the lands between. Ye will wage war in a land afar, where ye will live and die. Well, perhaps that might serve you in lieu of a maiden's guidance.
And that's all she has to say, some rather ominous and prophetic words from Marika's own lips. Now that we've rested, let's go take one last trip to Murkwater Cave and talk to Patches. Once again, just ignoring the highwaymen. There is the dinner bell. Still gonna grab some cave moss, why not? Let's see if they'll all come this way because I actually hit the bells. Nope, looks like they will eventually stop. So there he is. The chest is no longer open, so we can't go back to that, but we do have a site of graves so we can fast travel to if needed. But, hey Patches.
Ryan, you're alive. Oh, you had me proper scared, puffing away in a flash like that. Well, maybe it's a sign to keep your mitts off what's not rightly yours, But I'll forgive you. View it as a learning experience. At any rate, it's just nice to see you safe. Oh, don't miss all the bargains here at Patch's Emporium.
And we get the calm down gesture. How fitting.
Cheers for that.
We may or may not be done with Patches for now, but you're going to have to tune in until next time, because that's going to do it for this episode of Everything Possible in Elden Ring, and I really do hope you learned something. I spent a lot of time researching this episode. If you did learn something, leave me a comment down below and let me know what you learned, and if you have a better strategy for Agheel or anything else we covered today, let me know that too, so we can all keep learning. But if you made it this far and you found this video at all entertaining or somewhat informative, or just because you have nothing better to do, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button and hitting subscribe for more videos, that would be greatly appreciated. But I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.